everybody. Welcome to another episode of TNFro is Reading, and I'm your host, Felicia Baxter. This is TNFro broadcasting from Chattanooga. Listen, I still have no sponsors as of yet, so I'm going to shamelessly direct you to my website, DalesAngelsInc.com, and check out offers from the following sponsors. I actually can make a pretty significant amount of money just by you clicking on my website. I actually am a publisher for Gaiam, which teaches us how to balance mind and body through the practice of yoga and Pilates. And from Alibris, why pay more for books? SodaStream, an economic way to enjoy carbonated beverages in the comfort of your home. And Sea Bear, enjoy the choices offered from the sea. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of TNFro is Reading. And hi, I'm your host, Felicia Baxter. Again, what am I going to be covering today? Even though it's only been 24 hours since my last episode and my last Libby List update, I've actually added a couple of more books. That's what you get when you're an unrepentant book nerd. I'll also be going over what's in the news. I'm still reading some great books, and one of the three of the books is Unlearn by Humble the Poet, and which is contributing to my daily affirmations that I really wanted to share with you guys. And we'll wrap it up with the conclusion. So, what is actually going on in the world today? Well, it seems that the tornadoes or the weather is actually still at the top of news. There's several severe tornadoes or a tornado outbreak that's truly affecting several million people in the Midwest. There's been more deaths, and basically, at one time, I think was it Ohio that they said that 2 tornadoes touched down at the same time, was on the ground for about 15 seconds and basically just ripped apart an entire town. My heart and prayers go out to the people that they stay safe and they go through, or they have a speedy recovery. And also, I don't have really anything that jumped out to me like Humble the Poet's tweet yesterday, but today on the Breakfast Club, this is a morning radio show with Charlemagne the God, DJ Envy, and Angela Yee that plays on FM. Here in Chattanooga, I believe the channel is 96.1. They also have a podcast, but they are considered the most feared radio personalities today. It's because it seems like DJ Envy is just a cranky old man, and he is a complete George Jefferson racist. But today, not only do they play some really good music, today they brought up an incident that happened in my old stomping ground. It's a local DJ in Charlotte, North Carolina by the name of Cam Colehart. Evidently, he and another rapper called The Baby, this guy is like 2'5", got into some online altercation and back and forth. Well, evidently Cam Colehart is in a Louis Vuitton store in South Park, and he's video or taping or recording his interaction with the baby. And it's hysterical because it looks like the baby wasn't even paying him any attention. And he was going on about his business, and Cam Coldheart kept jawing. Well, he suffered a beatdown. There is a YouTube video that's out there that shows him getting his butt kicked. He actually records part of it. All you hear is a bunch of face slapping. Well, I don't know who was throwing the blows, whether it was just the baby or was it the baby and his homicidal bodyguard. But the next scene is you see the baby still standing up without a scratch on him, talking trash, and this guy is actually on the ground, bleeding from his face, and his pants are down. No belt, showing his drawers. I can't understand where was security in the Louis Vuitton store? That's number one. And what kind of ghetto brawling is going on in Charlotte at this time? Because that was just completely ridiculous. And then you see the subsequent videos. He's talking trash like he wasn't the one that got his butt whipped. It was hysterical because it brought to mind one of a Kevin Hart skit when he was talking about his father getting beat down, and he was talking like an octopus. There had to be more than one person there, and you can see Cam Coldheart just confirming with the security, who is another African-American gentleman, how many people were there beating me down, and the security was like 2. And we were all, he had the exact same expression I had on my face. Why were you jawing off at this guy? What were you trying to gain? Did you really think that you were not going to get your butt beaten? The crazy part, it all ended was he goes back to the Louis Vuitton store because evidently he was in there to purchase a belt. I just don't get that. If he had the belt, his pants would not have been down around his ankles, because that may have contributed to him getting tripped up and getting basically knocked the freak out. But also he could have used it as a weapon, but he didn't because he hadn't bought it yet. And I was shocked that the Louis Vuitton people let him back in the store. But I guess if you're going to drop a couple of G's, they didn't matter. A sale was a sale. But that was probably the most interesting post on YouTube from this past weekend. Granted, it was Memorial Day, and we should never forget the meaning of the day. But the Cam Coldheart beatdown was probably the best thing on as far as reality TV that was on this weekend. As I stated earlier in the show, I have since yesterday updated my Libby's list, which is my list of books that I actually have on hold at the public library here in Chattanooga. Hetty's Folly. It's the life and breakthrough inventions of Hedy Lamarr, the most beautiful woman in the world. I had no idea. Hedy Lamarr was a megastar from the 30s and 40s. And she was deemed probably one of the most beautiful women in show business. And also her daughter and her son, they were actually kind of pretty too. But she was more known for having 6 or 7 different failed marriages, and how she basically died broke. The issue with this lady, who was originally from Austria, a Jewish woman from Austria, assimilated Jew from Austria, was the fact that she was brilliant. She actually conceptualized using alternating radio frequencies to sink or disable German torpedoes. This is how our government is so screwed up. I don't know it was because it was conceptualized by a German woman or the fact that she was a woman, but it was shelved. And it wasn't until several years later that the technology was rediscovered, and it goes into what we use today to disable torpedoes, and we can thank our cellular service and our Wi-Fi because of something that was conceptualized by Hedy Lamarr back in the 1930s. This lady has mad props. It was absolutely amazing. And the other book that I want to read is The Confessions of Franny Langdon by Sarah Collins, which is a book about a slave from the islands or the Caribbean who then goes on to become a servant in 19th century England, and she gets framed, or she is brought up on charges that she killed her employers. And so it was like a sensationalized trial of that particular time. So the three books that I'm reading basically simultaneously are When the Soul Cries, American Kingpin, and Unlearn. When the Soul Cries, I've spoken about this before. It basically exposes the souls of 17 women. It's like the compilation of 17 stories, 17 different women who have endured and overcome tremendous amounts of emotional abuse, constant disappointment, and heartbreaking portrayal. The fearless storytellers are passionate about helping other women learn from their mistakes and win the right way in our romantic relationships. Even though they have experienced trauma in life, their tears do not override their triumph. What I've found in all of those stories, for a wide variety of reasons, these women basically stayed in awful situations or dysfunction way too long. They were dedicated to making relationships and marriage work. There was only a couple of women that remained in their original marriages and got it to work out. But there was a lot of fear of loneliness, I think, and fear of failure that actually kept these women in toxic situations. American Kingpin is just getting better and better. How this nerd from Austin, Texas turned the dark web into $1 billion business. The more I read, the more I'm completely fascinated. And even though he was taking out a commission, his idea has continued to grow, because now you can get everything from organs to spyware on the web, on the dark web, and it was all conceptualized in the bedroom of this guy from Austin, Texas. And I wanted just to read a little bit of an excerpt from the book itself, because it was just a direction how this business was supposed to go. Variety Jones and DPR, which is the Dread Pirates Roberts, aka Ross Ulbricht, they were just talking or chatting about the direction of the web. It starts out, but Variety Jones and DPR both knew it wasn't contest and the Silk Road alone that would get Ross to his coveted billionaire status. The site needed to diversify into other markets and to reach a larger set of customers. They discussed an entire genre of underground websites that were borrowed from the Silk Road brand. Silk Digital could be for downloadable digital goods like stolen software and tools for hackers. Silk Pharma would be for payments, uppers and downers, and maybe could build a site for weapons, they reasoned. But these expansions would take work. So Ross had decided to come down to Costa Rica to his parents' patch of paradise to focus on this exact problem. His mother and father didn't have a clue what their son was working on. How can you look at your own flesh and blood, who was once a Boy Scout, then a physicist, who donated books to the local prison in his early 20s, and think, or maybe he's becoming one of the most notorious drug dealers alive? You can't. It doesn't enter the mind. When Lynn and Kirk looked at their son, they saw a brilliant and idealistic 28-year-old who spent so much time on his computer because he was trading stocks. Ross believed the day would come when the movement he launched would become unstoppable and prove to the U.S. government that the only way to win the war on drugs was to legalize them completely. Then and only then would the dread pirate Roberts be able to remove the mask and Ross Ulbricht would step out onto the world stage and take a bow. His mother would proudly look at her son, the hero of the libertarian movement that he first been planted in Ross's mind as a tiny seedling at his parents' dinner table discussions back in Austin. Though Ross and VJ knew that wasn't going to happen just yet. As Ross sprung out of the water in Costa Rica, he rinsed the sand off his body and scarfed down breakfast before scurrying away to work on his laptop, in private hidden from prying eyes. "I'm in a magical place right now, to be sure," he told Variety Jones when he logged into their chat window. "I'm stoned on oxygen and sea breeze." But that now familiar specter of something bad was looming again, and VJ had something else to talk about. "Dude, I'm worried about our winner," Variety Jones said, referring to the person who had won the 420 contest and was about to be rewarded all expenses paid vacation and a few $1,000s in cash. "What's the matter?" DPR replied. "He's trying to dry out, heroin is not working, and I think his recent influx of cash didn't help." "Oh, geez, fuck, what are we doing?" DPR then joked. "Should have thought more carefully about dropping 4K on an addict. Maybe our next prize will be 3 months in rehab." "Yeah," VJ said. "It just shows we've got problems Gillette doesn't have in their promos." Variety Jones then joked that their next promotion should be, "Win 3 months in rehab. The more drugs you buy, the more chances you have to win." As Ross changed the subject of the conversation to more pressing issues, specifically how to expand the Silk Road and grow the business so he could reach that special 10-digit number, the calm Costa Rica sky was starting to turn a deeper gray. A violent storm was on the horizon, ominously moving closer to the land. Oh, he had no idea what the FBI, DEA, Customs, and IRS had an in for him. I can't wait to relate to you the next part because it all comes together. And then my last book, Unlearn by Humble the Poet, actually has gotten me into the habits of focusing in on my daily affirmations. I want to read interesting things and write about interesting things because they make me happy. So I have to do them. I'm going to stop comparing myself to others. I can only be responsible for me. Wanting less makes me happier than wanting more. I really do want to sell 1,000 books, but if I don't, it would suck, but I won't die. I desire not to feel shitty or feel bad. That means if I can't or I don't have to talk to someone, I'm not going to talk to them. And I promise to not let fear paralyze me. The conclusion for today is I want to experience the world that I read about in the travel section of the New York Times, but that takes money, and that's what we're going to get to. I need patrons to support my podcast to allow me to create content that is going to uplift the world and allow me to travel the world so I can experience more things, so I can write about more things. So that's why I want you to navigate to patreon.podcast.com/The Talking Fro to donate to my podcast. I've started keeping it a 100 event where I want to have 100 downloads or 100 sponsors in 100 days. And I also would like you to navigate to my book. I really do want to sell 1,000 books with the express purpose for the 1,000 books that I read. I want to read 1,000 books. Please navigate to www.authorhouse.com/en/bookstore/book details /792-427 dash not dash my dash family. This is the end of my podcast, and I hope you guys have a great day.